Chapter 13. The Mind of Spirit concluded. Spirit cannot be conceived as being conscious of anything but its own existence unless it first manifests ideative images, forms, ideas, etc., and thereupon becomes conscious of them. The universal mind of spirit, in the absence of ideative images and forms, can have nothing other than its own existence of which to be conscious. Its state would be that of a man cut off from the time of his birth from all sense communication from the outside world and his physical body. Such a one would simply be conscious of his own existence, without a single other thought, idea, feeling, mental image, or conception. This must be true even if we raise mind to infinity of power and being. For outside of spirit there is nothing of which it can be conscious. Its only possibility and capability of being conscious lies in the creation of ideative forms and images in itself. Just as the man before mentioned could become objectively conscious only by contemplating his own mental images, so can infinite mind become objectively conscious only by contemplating its own mental creations, with this difference, however, that the man, by reason of his finiteness, could not create original images or ideas in his mind, while infinite mind must have the possibility and capability of so creating original images. The reason reports that spirit can become conscious of naught but its own existence except by the creation of ideative forms and images. Moreover, consciousness necessitates constant change in the object of consciousness. Consciousness of one invariable object soon ceases to be consciousness and fades by degrees into unconsciousness. In order to maintain consciousness it is necessary to have a constant flow of changing ideas or impressions pass before the field of consciousness. If we listen to a single note long continued, it fades from consciousness. If we gaze at a single unchanging object, we soon lose consciousness of that object. A single odor continually presenting itself to us soon ceases to be sensed consciously. A feeling or sensation continuously present soon ceases to be noticed. Consciousness abhors monotony and necessitates constant change. The secret of this lies in the fact that consciousness is largely, if not entirely, dependent upon attention, and attention will not hold itself long upon a monotonous or unchanging object. Attention is either the focusing of consciousness or else the detention of an idea, impression, or image in consciousness. Attention soon declines if the stimulus does not vary and change, or if some new attribute is not discovered in the object or idea. There is no reason for doubting that, even when mind is raised to infinity, and is seen to be universal mind, the facts of consciousness become different in nature. This being so, we should expect a continuous, ever-changing flow of ideas, images, and other products of ideation before the field of consciousness of the universal mind of spirit. Universal subconsciousness. Moreover, as in finite mind we recognize the great field of activities known as the subconscious, in which consciousness shades by imperceptible gradations into unconscious the mind of spirit concluded activities. So we may expect to find universal mind manifesting these lesser degrees of consciousness as well. We should expect to find that many of its activities are performed on the hidden planes of consciousness, to be brought into the bright light of the field of consciousness when required. The lifeiness of spirit. Finally, we should expect to find the explanation of the activities toward consciousness, on the part of universal mind as well as of finite mind, in the fact that consciousness is the essence of mind, and that mind is the essence of life. As it has been expressed, consciousness is the mindness of mind, and mind is the lifeiness of life. Just as the finite mind strives ever for consciousness in order to manifest its mindness and lifeiness, so may we think the infinite mind of spirit, ever expressing its lifeiness in consciousness. Mind without consciousness is not mind in its fullest expression, and life without consciousness is not life in its fullest expression. To actually and fully live, consciousness must be manifest. We have seen that spirit is the essence of life. Being this, it must be regarded as living. Living, it must be conceived of as being conscious and thus expressing and manifesting its lifeiness. The reason reports that the universal mind of spirit may be thought of as manifesting consciousness, or conscious expression, in order to express its own lifeiness. Of course, such consciousness and such lifeiness must be regarded as raised to infinity of possibility and capability, and its expressions and manifestations of consciousness must be thought of as on an infinite scale. Spirit as universal mind. Summing up the idea, we see that spirit, considered in terms of universal mind, may be thought of as 1. Manifesting ideation and will, 2. Forming ideative and creative ideas, mental images, pictures, or appearances by the exercise of ideation and will, 3. Manifesting law and order, or pure logic, in its ideative, creative activities and manifestations, 4. Manifesting its ideative, creative activities and manifestations that it may express consciousness, as otherwise it would be unconscious save only in its consciousness of its own existence, 5. Manifesting constant change in its ideative and creative activities that consciousness may be maintained, 6. Manifesting subconscious activities and energies, in various degrees, as well as those of actual consciousness, and 7. Manifesting the activities of consciousness in order that it may express its lifeness, for consciousness is the lifeness of life. Here we rest this phase of the consideration of spirit in the terms of universal mind. Spirit may be considered as universal mind in its twin activities of infinite ideation and will. Its substance we may consider as infinite mind substance its power, as infinite mind power its life, as infinite mind life its law, as infinite mental law. But even so we run the risk of dwarfing our conception of spirit by comparison. Raise even to infinite perception and power our conception of mind, and we have but hinted at the possibilities and capabilities thereof. Reasoning with but finite minds, at the best we can expect to be but able, as Emerson says, even by profane words, if sacred I may not use, to indicate the heaven of this deity, and to report what hints I have collected of the transcendent simplicity and energy of the highest law.